Close your eyes. Picture an apple in the center of your mind. Try to make it a perfectly clear, solid object. Take a close look at what you are actually generating. Are you seeing a sharp, photorealistic piece of fruit with light reflecting off the skin? Or is it more like a blurry, dark suggestion of a shape? Recent psychological audits suggest a sharp divergence from the baseline human experience of just a decade ago. Tasks that were once effortless for the average brain are now met with significant internal resistance. That persistent fuzziness reflects a specific, measurable decay in your brain's internal rendering hardware. What you're experiencing is part of a massive, silent shift in human cognition. This chart maps mental imagery. On one end, high-fidelity visualization. On the other lies aphantasia, complete mind blindness. Over the last decade, a steep downward trend pushes the global population marker further toward that gray void. A cognitive shift this rapid points to a systemic environmental theft rather than a natural evolutionary accident. You are likely losing pieces of your mental machinery, and because the process is so gradual, you haven't noticed what is gone. The visual cortex functions like a biological muscle. To maintain its strength and density, it requires the resistance of active use. Looking at the physical world is a passive process, but constructing an image from nothing behind your eyelids is an intense neurological workout. The modern digital environment functions as a restrictive cast for the brain. It does the visual heavy lifting, so your cortex doesn't have to. We are constantly flooded with pre-packaged pixels and infinite scrolls. This external saturation replaces the need for the brain to generate its own imagery. When the brain is continuously spoon-fed this much external data, it powers down its internal generator to conserve energy. Sustained inactivity leads to a cellular consequence. Through a biological efficiency process called neural pruning, the brain dismantles the pathways it deems unnecessary. The exact networks currently being targeted for removal are the ones responsible for independent internal visualization. Once these pathways are pruned, they are incredibly difficult to rebuild in the adulthood. It is a one-way street. Digital text and hyperfast edits hijack the cortex. They create a shallow loop that circumvents the deep rendering process entirely. These digital devices are structurally rewriting your anatomy, physically removing the space where your imagination used to live. This anatomical loss shifts how you experience your own life. Your internal visual space is the primary link between your identity and your place in the world. Without an internal eye, you must rely entirely on screens to tell you what reality looks like. You lose the ability to visualize anything that isn't directly in front of you. This impacts your memory. Recalling a past experience or a loved one's face becomes a list of facts rather than a vivid scene. It also blocks your future. You cannot mentally simulate potential outcomes or visualize long-term goals if the rendering engine is broken. Without the ability to visually conceptualize what was or what could be, you are trapped in an artificially constructed present. Let's return to your immediate surroundings for a final audit. Look away from the screen right now. Try to perform a complete mental reconstruction of the room you are sitting in. Notice the struggle for detail. Notice how the corners of your own environment seem to fragment and dissolve the moment you stop looking at them. The effort required to see what is right in front of you reveals how far the erosion has already progressed.